The image of Molech in the Washington D.C. street plan is a well-known conspiracy theory that blames the Illuminati for setting up a negative or demonic energy from these types of images. Molech is a false god dating back to the Canaanite people of Old Testament times. The image of Molech typically looks like a bull with wings who can stand on 2 feet like a human. Molech or Moloch is associated with the wrongful practice of child sacrifice in Canaanite culture. Due to the fact that the Capitol Hill image looks like an owl, not a bull, the actual conspiracy theory I'm citing has an already largely misunderstood concept, especially since an owl traditionally denotes the Roman goddess Minerva. Because it is such a similar idea overall, I'll simply call it Molech here for simplicity's sake. Biblical references to the false god Molech include Leviticus 18:21 and 20 verses 2 through 5, Jeremiah 32 verse 35, and 2 Kings 23:10. The Hebrew word Molech used in the Old Testament is pronounced Molech, just like the English, or at least very similar. Strong's definitions says this Hebrew word denotes a Phoenician proper name of divinity and was the god to whom Israel sacrificed children with fire in the valley of Hinnom. Taking the Bible verse Leviticus 18:21 for example, it reads, "And thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord." End quote. Sacrificing babies in the fire to Molech was a practice forbidden to the children of Israel in the Old Testament and all who followed the Mosaic law thereafter. You may wonder then, why is there an image of Molech specifically in the Washington D.C. street plan, the nation's capital, right on and around Capitol Hill? What if the intent of the street design was not negative, but was an idea devised by the nation's first president, George Washington, coordinated with the city planner and urban designer, Pierre Charles L'Enfant, with the purpose in mind to cast doubt over the establishment entirely? The framers were distrustful of authority or absolute power and wanted to establish a working democracy that lasted. They did not want the country to fall under the reign of tyranny or those who would abuse too far their authority and the trust placed in them. What if, in order to break the trance of awe towards power and authority, Washington, in coordination with others, devised these subtle strategies to cast doubt over the federal government being completely pristine by reputation or otherwise? Washington was himself a Freemason, a fact typically referenced by conspiracy theorists who talk about Molech in the street plan of DC. However, the Freemasons also cared about perpetuating democracy. This theory would also serve to explain the other instances of Brotherhood Illuminati symbolism in the monuments, architecture, and street plan of DC, such as the obelisk and dome format posed by the Washington Monument and the Oval Office in contrast to each other. Given that the Hebrew word Molech derives from the 2 Hebrew words Melech, meaning king, and Moshet, meaning shame, it stands to reason that even the early history practices of child sacrifice to Molech could have been to bring shame upon a king. But that is not to approve of these practices here. God indeed judged every instance of the Old Testament nation of Israel slipping into idolatry and false god worship. It just stands to reason that the Freemasonic originators of the street design may have just had the same intent, but with more subtle guises. By the way, a human sacrifice ritual with that format could have used any animal as its false god, whether it would have been an owl or a bull. If the early Freemasons, who are the ones who most likely thought of and influenced these designs, actually really believed in false gods, really just wanted to create a negative energy field over the city, and they had no intention like what I've described, then it still casts a great deal of doubt over the establishment. The American people are never under perfectly pristine authority. That would be a reasonable view. Our leaders can even try to do good in their jobs, but they can never perfectly represent their constituencies. They're susceptible, just like everyone else is, to human error and sin. However, the Molech Effect, as I've described here in my overall thesis, could be responsible for the worst consequences and results of secular rule, including the legalization and widespread long-term practice of aborting unwanted babies, as well as the constant ongoing erosion of our rights and freedoms.